Hello and welcome to Bridgend Ford in South Wales, where you join us live on Facebook for the next 20 or 25 minutes to bring you what is a once-in-a-generation moment for an icon of the Ford brand that is the Ford Mustang. Before we go any further, I must just say as well that in light of the current global pandemic, we are following all of the precautions in terms of social distancing, the wearing of masks where appropriate, and working within our bubbles just to make sure that everyone involved in tonight's event is staying safe. And it's a big moment for everyone at Ford because for the first time in 55 years, Ford have added to the iconic Mustang lineup. They've taken everything that the original Mustangs from the 60s represented, that was freedom, progress, and a touch of rebellion, and created this. This is the all-new Mustang Mach-E. It's an intelligent, all-electric SUV that is simply brimming with features, technology, but above all else, because it's a Mustang, an exhilarating drive. It is so much fun. And one man who's joining me from the off tonight, who has already had fun in one today and yesterday, is the new vehicle sales manager down here at Bridgend, Carl. Carl, great to see you. Thanks for having us at Bridgend. This is a big moment for Ford and probably an exciting moment because you now get to show this to the people of South Wales.
Exciting is an understatement.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic vehicle. The Mustang's been an icon since the 60s. What we've got here is an icon for the electric age.
That's right.
It's such a game changer for us, the Mustang Mach-E, not only because it's the first all-electric vehicle, but because it's such a premium high-performance car too.
Yeah.
In fact, it's just beaten the equivalent Tesla in the latest Auto Express test, and it's substantially cheaper as well.
Yeah, it is.
So we are so excited to have it.
Yeah, all pluses, and you can do, as Carl's we were chatting about this earlier, do your background research, you'll read all of this. But also as well, you're one of the few people in the country, they're appearing around at dealerships, people are doing the reading, not many have got their hands on the wheel. You've driven it today and yesterday. What's it like to drive?
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. It's nothing like Ford have produced before. Anybody who's used to Ford have not driven anything like this.
Yeah.
And having worked for other manufacturers, people who have driven other marques as well have not driven anything like this either.
Right.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
Ah, brilliant, exciting stuff. I bet you can't wait to drive one. I certainly can't. I might have done already though, however. But what we will say as well at this point in time, and as we look out across the scene here in Bridgend, it's stunning. You've got a lot of vehicles on display. This represents the pinnacle of Ford's electric vehicle range, but there will be people for whom this isn't quite the right car and they want to join in and do their bit for the environment and save money on their fuel costs. They want to go electric at a lower entry point. They can do that. We've got electric options right across the Ford range.
We have. By the end of the year, Ford will have launched 16 new hybrid and electric vehicles this year in the UK. So from the mild hybrid Fiesta right through to the all-electric Transit that's due next year, there really is something for everybody in Ford's electrified range.
Brilliant stuff. And just as soon as you are open and able to welcome visitors again, test drives will be happening. It'll all be back to normal. For now, though, it's phone calls, emails, and video chats.
Yeah, we can't wait to welcome our customers back. But in the meantime, we're fully equipped to do everything safely and remotely.
Great stuff, Carl. Thanks ever so much. Now, don't forget as well that we are live tonight on Facebook. So if you've got a question for Carl, myself, or any of the team down here at Bridgend, pop it in the comments below. We're going to answer some at the end in about 20 minutes' time, and any that we don't answer, we'll get to in the coming days. So it is certainly a car that wouldn't look out of place in Hollywood. So we decided to ask a leading Hollywood A-lister if he wouldn't mind starring alongside one.
Should have seen this coming. An icon. Built for freedom. The open road. Power. And rebellion. And just when you think you know where they're going, they do something unexpected.
Something that moves us all forward.
And holds nothing back.
The all-electric Mustang Mach-E.
An SUV with the heart of a Mustang.
Just how good does that look? Some guys have all the luck, eh? Can you imagine spending a day in the company of all those iconic Mustang shapes? You know Idris got in some of those older Mustangs and had to drive himself. But when you think about those cars and then you look at this, you suddenly realize that this is every bit a Mustang in terms of design. When you notice at the front here, you've got that kind of shark nose and then this big, long, sweeping bonnet. You might remember in 1968, Steve McQueen was in that film Bullet when he was racing a Mustang up and down the streets of San Francisco. Picture that car and then look at this as we come up the windshield here. It's the similar styling, isn't it? But then the coupe roofline goes all the way to the rear here. And that coupe rooflining isn't spoilt by the fact there's now additional headroom in this car because it's bigger. The additional headroom is hidden by this kind of colorway here, the two-tone. You've got black and then the color of the vehicle itself. So that's neatly disguised. So your eye follows the coupe roofline all the way to the back. And then when you stand back here and look at it from the rear, it's almost like the rear wheel arches are like the rear haunches of a Mustang itself, that stallion-like horse galloping down the street, giving it real presence on the road. And of course, it wouldn't be a Mustang if it didn't have the tri-bar lighting like we just saw in that VT with Idris. It's obviously a Mustang when you look at it from the rear. And then when you follow your eye line down the side and you come down the side panel, it's got a real sort of minimal fluid look. There's no door handles cluttering up the lines on the car, just these little finger catches that will work alongside the e-latch system. So if you've got your key in your pocket, when you approach the car, you just grab that, touch that, and the door pops open. Super, super easy, but really nice styling, not detracting from anything. You've got these slim LED headlights at the front, again, with the tri-bar design on the LED headlights. There's no grille at the front because obviously it doesn't need airflow for an internal combustion engine. So just again, the prancing, unmistakable Mustang logo. All you do have is down lower at the bottom there, these active aero vents which aid cooling or aid airflow depending on whatever is needed at the time. You can see those just at the very bottom, just above the skirt there. So it is every bit a Mustang from the moment you look at it, but it's also every bit an all-electric, just phenomenal car designed for the 21st century. It delivers near instantaneous torque and acceleration from the near second you hit the loud pedal. Have a look at this.
The rules of gravity cannot be changed. But can they be beat? Can torque be generated at such a force that the agreed upon rules and theories of what's possible no longer apply?
Stand clear.
Just how good is that? That's one of those where you have to say, do not try this at home, but if you dare in a car as beautiful as this. But I mean, it's just incredible. The technology behind this really is the future. However, in terms of the battery technology, that's not new as far as Ford are concerned. That's something that we've been working on for quite some time. Let me explain a little more about the battery and the transmission that gives you that incredible torque and acceleration. So the battery and the chassis has actually been designed together. So the chassis, the battery itself is in turquoise here, and the motors are also in turquoise. But effectively what you've got is a very stiff, rigid chassis that supports the battery, that runs the whole base of the vehicle. Now this is made for improvements for both handling and safety. The chassis is very stiff, so it feels very quick and kind of direct with your input through the steering wheel. But because that battery is sitting across the base of the vehicle, it's got a very low center of gravity, so it also feels very planted on the road. Now, in terms of battery, there are two battery sizes. You've got the standard range and the extended range. Standard range being a 68 kilowatt usable hour battery, and an extended range is an 88 kilowatt hour usable battery. In real terms, in layman terms for your eye, you just know that you've got one size battery and then a slightly bigger battery. Now what that means is though, in terms of range, how far you can go off a full charge, well it's up to 379 miles on a rear wheel drive and up to 335 miles on an all-wheel drive. That will be dependent on how you drive it, the weather, the traffic, whether you spend all your time driving uphill or all your time bombing downhill. It's those are kind of like best figures up to, if you will. The single motor then is what you will get in a rear wheel drive, obviously rear wheels, so the motor sits behind the rear wheels, and on the all-wheel drive it's dual motored, one in the front, one in the back. Now they all come with a single automatic speed transmission. But the takeaway from all of that is, it's just great fun to drive, as Carl told us at the top of all of this, because he's been out in it today and yesterday. But they're also great figures. So how do we get those phenomenal figures in terms of the range and the mileage? Well, it's a number of reasons, but here's one of them that helps. Regenerative braking is coming into play here. It's something that you'll have heard about in the Formula One. So we've got our battery and our motor and our wheels there, battery powering the motor turning the wheels, the car moves forward. But when you start to decelerate, some of that energy goes back through the wheels and back into the motor, which is now working like a dynamo. If you're old enough to know what a dynamo is, you had one on your bike and they powered your lights. Well, this is the same way. So the motor now is putting some charge back into the battery. So that is how it's achieving those figures. That's what it's doing when it's on the move. But what about when you're still or you're at home? Well, you'll be pleased to know that when you are at home, if you lift up the front trunk, you've got a couple of options. You've got a big sort of transformer with a 3-pin 13 amp plug on it there, so you can plug it into any standard 3-pin socket. You also get this thing. This is a 32 amp. You might be familiar with these if you work in the trades or you've been camping ever anywhere, or you're out and about and you've plugged into a charge socket somewhere externally. That will obviously charge faster than that. More power comes through that than comes through that. And while we speak of power, what you want to do as well is speak to the guys here at Ford about getting a home wall box installed, because that's what's on the wall over there. That again is a high-powered charging option for you, which could fill the thing from empty to full in around 6 to 10 hours. So that could be your overnight charging option. You may not use 6 to 10 hours, it may not take 10 hours, because when you plug it into that, you may already have half a tank of juice in it. Now, the other thing to consider then is when you're not at home and you're going on a journey, because this is the thing that everybody is sort of concerned about, or they haven't quite worked out yet. But the news is this: there are plenty of electric charging points already across the UK. And when you plan your journey on the Ford Pass app or using the nav that's in the car, the journey planner tells you where your stops will be, where you could stop, where you need to stop. It'll tell you how long you need to stop for, and it will tell you when you're going to arrive. But if that all sounds like too much for you, because you don't want to plan a journey, you just want to use it in the same way that you use your existing vehicle, panic not. I had a quick look in the nav earlier today. There are 6 electric vehicle charging points within 5 miles of this Bridgend showroom. And in fact, within 20 miles of this Bridgend showroom, there are 50 electric vehicle charging points. So I think safe to say there's plenty of them already, and there's only going to end up being more as time moves forward. Something that you're also going to see when you're out and about are these charging points. Have a look at Ionity, because Ionity is a network of fast charging points that Ford and a consortium of other car manufacturers have got together on here and invested in, and you'll see these pop up, and these are Europe-wide. So the photo on the left is obviously a nice publicity photo that Ionity have put out, and you'll see it on their website. But on the right is a photo that I took yesterday, just coming up the A1 as I was heading towards the Alconbury area. That was somewhere near Beeston. I just pulled into the services and I was like, oh, hey presto, there's Ionity. Now, so the great thing about Ionity is it's all about fast charging. If you've only got 10 minutes, if you are literally nipping in, going to the loo and coming straight out, might take about 10 minutes, you could put up to 73 miles worth of journey into your car. That amount of electricity. If you obviously got more than 10 minutes, then stick it on for longer. You'll get more miles in it. Now, you pay for that through the app or through the point where you are, but they're going to be popping up all over Europe. Have a look at ionity.eu to learn more about that. Now, another thing you're going to be interested in is the range when it comes to the models that are available to you. Well, let's have a look, because it's very simple when it comes to Mach-E. You might have been familiar as a Ford customer with Z-Tech, Titanium, Titanium X or ST line. With Mach-E, it's very simple. We've already explained standard range and extended range, so one size battery, slightly larger battery, and then you have rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Now, the amount of options and extras on your vehicle will be determined by which one of these 4 derivatives you choose. So let's have a look as well how you will notice the differences. When you look at the front of a Mach-E, they're going to look like this. On a rear-wheel drive on the left and an all-wheel drive on the right, you'll see straight away that they are both great-looking cars. I promise you, you won't be disappointed with either. They're both lovely. But it's things like this. On the rear-wheel drive, you'll have an 18-inch alloy wheel, whereas on the all-wheel drive, that becomes a 19-inch alloy wheel with the red brake calipers. On the rear-wheel drive model, any of the trim and the mouldings will be a sort of what's called a mould-in colour black, whereas on the all-wheel drive, it's a much more sort of glossy pillar black it is. So it's fair to say the all-wheel drive does look slightly more premium than the rear-wheel drive. But having seen both, sat in both, you're not going to be disappointed by either. Now let's have a look when you move then to an extended range battery, because more features come as soon as you choose the extended range battery. Things like the full panoramic roof, that's a UV roof, that's what we've got on this one here. That's going to keep you nice and cool because it's got that UV coating. The 8-way power memory front seats, power foldable door mirrors, B&O, Bang & Olufsen 10-speaker sound system. That is just amazing. That's not only giving the sounds out, but it's also cancelling the sounds inside. It makes the cabin that you're sitting in, the kind of interior of the car, just a really comfortable, nice place to be. It's got a hands-free tailgate when you choose the extended range and the advanced active park assist with the 360-degree camera, which is just incredible. And if you've never seen a Ford do a park assist demo, when you come down here to Bridgend, ask the guys to demo it because it's just incredible. Take your hands off the wheel, it parks itself, honestly. It'll stop at making you a cup of tea, but it can park itself. It's high time we jump inside and have a look at this as well, so let's jump straight in and I'll talk you through it. So, the moment you get inside here, the overriding feeling is one of premium luxury. From the Sensico vegan leather seats, which just feel so nice to the touch, to the hand stitching detail. We've got these red hand stitch details here. Perforations in the seat give it a more sporty premium look. The sporty look continues, the premium look continues with carbon fibre up here on the dashboard. And then immediately you're greeted with the B&O logo there on this soundbar that runs the full extent of the dashboard. Behind the steering wheel, obviously a big Mustang logo on the steering wheel, lovely leather steering wheel. It's heated, obviously, as are the seats. But behind here, you've got this wonderful 10.2-inch digital cluster. It's so sharp and clear and easy to read. Everything you need is right there. However, we've skipped past this. This is the star of the show. This is the next generation sync. If you've had Fords before, you'll have heard of Sync 2, Sync 3, and now here we are with next generation sync on a 15.5-inch touchscreen display. It's so clear and easy to read, and the graphics have been so well designed, it's just really intuitive. Behind the scenes here as well, there's live connectivity with an inbuilt modem, so that will ensure the navigation is giving you live traffic information. Any updates the vehicle needs happen over the cloud through that modem. Additionally as well in here, when you start to touch things and you feel your way around, the vehicle starts to learn your favorite preferences because it's got artificial intelligence. So just looking at things like this is just how you control the fans. You know, choose whether you want the fans completely off or whether you just want them on one. Does it want to be up the windscreen, in your face, down by your feet? Where do you want it? But everything about it is just so nicely and clearly displayed. Something that also is great, just talking about artificial intelligence, I've set myself up with a profile. So I see at the top here, KH, you might not be able to see it, but there's a K and an H. That's me, Kev Harris. I touched that, and now it's offering me some suggestions. Here's things that I would sometimes do in an evening. If I had my phone paired and I call home at this time of day, every day, it's going to offer me a call home button. It's going to offer me my favourite radio station, tell me where my next EV charge is. It's going to learn what I like and offer me some simple choices here. The profile for me, Kev Harris, is one I set up. If your mum gets in, set your mum a profile up. When she taps mum, the seat is changing position for mum, the radio stations will have changed, the lighting's changed, everything's changed now to match mum, and you can program that on the key as well, so it'll all do it from the moment you get in with the key, so it'll know whose key is whose, which is, I just think, is so good. I'll pop it back to me, Kev Harris. My seat is adjusting again. Now, something that also is very, very intuitive and very easy to get to grips with is the navigation. Here's a journey to Manchester that I planned earlier. Have a look at this and I'll talk you through it. So like any sat nav, you tap search. You first of all tap nav, then you search where you want to go. And I tapped MAN, started to spell Manchester, and it's obviously going to find Manchester. Obviously with the modem, it's going to take into account live traffic information and everything else. But what it does, it takes away any worry as far as you're concerned in terms of your route and your journey time. But most importantly, it tells you when and where you should stop to charge up, how long you'll need to stop to charge up based on the current state of the battery and the state of the battery when you will arrive. It's just really, really clever, and it does it all for you in just spectacular fashion with such a clear screen. Wonderful to see some lovely driving shots of the Mach-E in action there, because it is a Mustang and we want to know it's a great drive, and it is. There are 3 drive modes here that you can have a little tinker with as well. And I'll talk you through them quickly because we're familiar with drive modes on Ford vehicles, you know, from the last few years. So there's an active drive mode. This would be the one that you'll probably leave it in most of the time. The acceleration, the deceleration is what you would expect from, you know, a kind of standard electric vehicle. You'll get used to active very, very quickly. The coloration is a blue. The sounds in the cabin are everything that you would expect from a regular vehicle. Tap it into whisper, things calm down a little bit. It will coast more to decelerate. It will coast more to accelerate. The lighting changes. The sound in the cabin will change. But it's a Mustang. We all want to know about Untamed. When you hit Untamed, everything becomes a bit more raw, a bit more edgy. You hit the accelerator, you're going to take off. You lift off, you're going to brake, you know, very kind of rapidly. The coloration goes orange. The sound in the cabin will sound more raw. It will be louder, because don't forget, there's no engine. So everything that you hear in here, and everything that you don't hear in here, happens because of the B&O 10-speaker sound system. So when you're in Untamed, expect the engine note that you would get from an Untamed Mustang engine. And lastly, I don't know whether you can see it, but there's a button here for one pedal drive. I'll just quickly mention that. You can drive it with one pedal, so the accelerator then becomes just a simple stop-go pedal. Put your foot down, you go, lift off, it starts to brake and decelerate, and that is when you will get the most benefit from the regenerative braking. It's very simple to get to grips with. The brakes still work. You can do an emergency stop, but you just press to go, lift off to brake and slow down, and you're also gaining more as far as the battery is concerned. Very easy to get to grips with and have a little play with one pedal drive. Right, and when you are on a journey, it might be to go on your holidays, and if that's the case, you're going to need to know where to put your luggage. So let's have a look at the back and see how much room it's got. So the great thing is, with the Mach-E, when you come around to the rear here and pop the power-assisted tailgate, you will be greeted with this cavernous boot. Now this is the extended range all-wheel drive model, so it does have the hands-free tailgate as well. If the key's in your pocket, waggle your foot under the rear bumper and the lid goes up, you can put your stuff in. Now in the back here, there's some 402 litres worth of space. It's quite something. If you picture a kind of standard size suitcase, I think you could get 4 abreast standing upright here. You could certainly lay a couple there and a couple there. 402 litres there. Pop the seats down and suddenly now we're adding another 1,000 litres. So it's just really quite large. If you're the kind of family or the kind of person who likes doing a lot of gardening on the weekend, you cut down, you know, the whole of the back hedge, put a ground sheet in here and you'll have less trips to the tip to get rid of it, because so much room in the back. But we're not done there, because we had a little sneak peek at this earlier. When you come around to the front and we lift up what is the bonnet, as we call it in the UK. In here, you've got what is now called the front trunk. So in here, there's an additional 81 litres of space. Now, we've obviously got our home charging kit in this front section here, and this is a divider that you may choose to keep or not keep. You can take it out if you wanted to, but that's in there. This is waterproof and it's washable. So if you've got kids' muddy football boots, the wellies from the dog walk, the dog's ball and all the other bits and pieces, all that kit and caboodle, chuck it in here, then you're not going to mess up the interior of the car. And then if you want to, there is a drain plug down there so you could properly give it a good wash out and a clean out. It's another 81 litres. So I think in total we're up to around 1,500 litres of space on the whole vehicle. So not only is it a phenomenal car to drive and it's all electric, it's also really practical. And I'm pleased to say joining me now is one of the ladies who you will get to speak to when you come down to Bridgend or pick up the phone, Leah Corrigan, who is, well, jack of all trades down here, but very much an electric vehicle specialist, and you're a bit of a Mach-E specialist as well.
Absolutely, and I can't believe it was only a few months ago I was stood here talking to everybody about the plug-in hybrid Cougar, and here I am stood next to the all-electric Mustang Mach-E, which is absolutely phenomenal. I'm just so excited to be stood here next to it, seeing it in the flesh, experiencing the drivability, which is absolutely breathtaking. Awesome. It's just incredible.
excited, you see. This is what happens when you put a Mach-E in a showroom. And the great thing is as well, the excitement is continuing right across the Facebook here, because I've brought a few questions up, Leah, and we're going to get to some of these. If you've put something in the comments and we don't address it in this moment in time, panic not, it will get addressed. You're going to monitor the Facebook after the live finishes, aren't you?
We'll be here, yeah.
Great stuff. Let's try some of these questions though, and some have come in on message, some are in the comments. Steve is in Bridgend, and he must have missed us at the start, Leah, because he's asked about charging cables. Do you get charging cables with Mach-E is what he wants to know.
Yes, the good news is you don't only get the one charging cable, you get the two.
Yep.
One being for home charging, and then the second being the hardware in charging, which you would take on longer journeys to be used at the AC stations.
And also, Steve, in case you missed it, people should ask you about the home wall box as well, because that can be installed at home. That's another home charging option.
It can, yes, it can.
And the good thing about that is that's a higher powered charge, isn't it? So we get a quicker charge out of that.
It is. So with the wall box then at home, obviously it's charging the car when you don't even notice. You could be sleeping. It can take roughly 6 to 10 hours for that charge up to 80% from 10, but you don't even know about it. It happens overnight.
There you go. So charge cables in the vehicle, wall box you can have installed. So hopefully that answers your question, Steve. Gemma is in Port Talbot, just down the road, in fact. She's interested to know about the warranty on the battery. Quite a few people often ask this question, in fact, but it's a fair question. So what is the warranty on the battery?
So the warranty on the battery itself is actually 8 years or 100,000 miles, whereas the warranty on the vehicle itself is 3 years or 60,000 miles, like the majority of our range.
Yeah, great. So the battery is well covered.
It is, yeah.
100,000 miles or 8 years. That's a big step up from what you'd expect from a regular vehicle.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Lauren is in Bridgend. I like this question, Lauren. I don't know where you've heard this, because we haven't said it tonight.
No.
She says, I've heard the Mach-E comes with something called a frunk. What is the frunk?
It is, and it's such a new vehicle, and we're already giving it names for the extras that it has. The frunk is a front-loading trunk. As we're used to calling it, it's the boot.
Yeah.
But of course, there's no combustion engine, so we've given you additional space located in the front of the vehicle. And like you previously said, Kev, if you've got those muddy boots, if you've got the equipment you don't want to wreck your interior with, chuck it in the front and we can get it hosed off afterwards.
I think it's really handy as well. You've got that drain plug, so if you actually wanted to squirt water in there, you could, but you can certainly wipe it out, can't you?
Of course.
Brilliant. There you go. And Lauren, please drop me a message and let me know who told you it was called a frunk. I've never heard that, but here we are. Jeff is also in Port Talbot. He's interested to know how far he can drive it on a full battery. We did say this, but we probably glossed over it a bit, so worth knowing. How far can he drive it on a full battery?
Now, this all does depend on exactly how you drive the vehicle. If you're going to get in here and, if you're going to act like Lewis Hamilton, you're not going to get that full range from it. And of course, the weather and road conditions have a massive impact. But with the rear-wheel drive extended range, we do predict you could have up to 379 miles.
Yeah, that is a long journey.
It is.
And because I said it earlier, Jeff, as well, on the all-wheel drive, on that extended range, it's still over 300 miles. It's 335.
I mean, you get 335, which, is ample, I would say.
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well, Jeff, and I apologise, I'm talking to you directly now, it's not often people don't do a 300-mile journey every day either, do they?
No,
without stopping.
Yeah.
Most people drive to work, I don't know how far you drive to get to work here, but might be 20 miles there, 20 miles back or something,
yes, exactly.
The most you may use in that instance could be like sort of 40 miles a day. Then you get home, you plug it in. I'm talking too much. Let's get back to the questions. David is in a place called Maesteg. Dave wants to know about how long does the battery in the Mustang Mach-E take to charge? We kind of talked about this just a second ago, sorry, but go on, how long does it take to charge? Perhaps if you're out and about, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of the vehicle is when you are out and about and you do need to charge the vehicle on the go, we predict from a charge from 10 to 80%, this could take 45 minutes for the extended range. For the standard range then, it is only 38 minutes. But from the wall box, if you're using it at home, again, this is going to be the most time, again, overnight, hidden away, 6 to 10 hours.
But those figures as well, Dave, it's worth saying, that's if it's completely empty and want to make it completely full. And as we've seen with the Ionity charge points that you're going to see popping up, you could put 73 miles in it in just 10 minutes.
Exactly.
So once you sort of get to go, I think, and I'll be interested to sort of chat to you to this as time goes on and we speak to customers, people will start to realise range anxiety doesn't need to exist, and they'll start to treat this in the same way that you're currently treating your petrol or your diesel engine, won't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as you previously mentioned, you know, you have got these charging stations located, you know, they are there, you know, there's no panic. You don't need to think, well, shall I go for the all electric? Can I charge it on the go? They're everywhere, and they're growing by the day.
Yeah, they are. Leah, thank you ever so much. I think we're sort of done on the live questions, but again, if you have put something in the comments and we haven't answered it, panic not. Leah and the team will be addressing those comments in the coming days. And if people get on the phone and they want some more info, it's not just yourself here who's fully up to speed on electric vehicles and Mach-E. There's a team of you.
Yes, we have a team of product specialists. So we have myself, we've got my colleague Bethan, we've got Katie and Iliana, who are all here, all just excited as we are about this vehicle and the rest of our range.
There you go, Leah. Thank you ever so much for your time.
That's no problem at all. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, great stuff. And thank you for watching wherever you are too. It is the all-new Mustang Mach-E. It's an intelligent, all-electric SUV that is every bit a Mustang. And I recommend to you, just as soon as you're allowed, come down to Bridgend, get behind the wheel of one, and you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely
For now, though,
not.
thanks for watching, and good night.
Thank you again.